Welcome to the wild city of Anchorage. Like all urban jungles, this is a city plagued by thieves and petty crime. But here in Anchorage, the culprits aren't human. They're wild animals. This unique Arctic metropolis is home to 5 wild wolf packs, hundreds of bears, and over 2,000 moose. But why have these animals made Anchorage their home? Surrounded by wilderness, it's packed with lakes, rivers, and woodland. But the wild residents of Anchorage also make their home on these city streets. And as this city expands into the wild, its human residents are creating areas that benefit them and the animals, making it one of the most unique wildlife refuges in the world. This is Arctic City. Alaska, one of the last true wildernesses on Earth. With nearly 1 million square miles of pristine habitat, this state is home to an abundance of wildlife. Herds of caribou roam the plains, wolves hunt in the forest, and brown bears are the kings of the rivers. But you don't have to head to the wilderness to come face to face with a wild animal. In the city of Anchorage, the wildlife is a lot closer than you might think. With this much green space, almost everywhere is potential habitat for wildlife. And the activity of people and the easy food they leave behind is also attracting all kinds of animals into the urban world.
The Anchorage golf course is right on the edge of one of the largest state parks. So you get used to seeing a lot of wildlife on the golf course, and being that it's an open space, they tend to gravitate here.
The golf course provides a safe haven for all of Anchorage's wild residents. From moose seeking refuge from the city heat, to the bears, accustomed to their human neighbors.
Stand your ground. Don't do anything, Doug.
Who come in search of food.
Hey, that's my beard!
And there's another cheeky mammal that has a special place in Marty's heart.
The foxes tend to be a little more and a little less every year. This year is a little more. We tend to see 2 to 5 dens of foxes each year with 2, 3, 4 kits in each den. And mom and dad return usually to the same location 3 or 4 years in a row.
These clever mammals are using their notoriously crafty skills here on the course.
Fox have a reputation for being very sharp-witted and crazy like a fox, if you will. There are a couple of tees where they're very near the clubhouse, and the fox have figured out that the golfers have food in their golf cart at the beginning of their round of golf. So they hang out on those tees because as soon as the golfers turn the back, they're in their carts looking for food, taking sandwiches, taking apples, running off just far enough away that you can't get to them. If you take a step towards them, they pick it up and they'll go just far enough that you can't get to them again. And they'll sit right in front of you and eat it. They're little devils.
Unlike foxes, Alaska's wild lynx usually prefer to stay well away from humans. But as the city of Anchorage continues to expand, new houses are being built in the lynx's domain. And being highly territorial, any lynx that live here are unable to move to new hunting grounds, as they would face being killed by other lynx. So here, in the suburbs of Anchorage, the usually elusive lynx is being forced to adapt by hunting in people's backyards. Their incredible senses may work just as well here as in the city. But in order to get close enough to catch their prey, lynx must also rely on camouflage. In this urban environment, however, it's much easier for their prey to see them coming. Unable to hunt as effectively in the city, sometimes Anchorage's urban lynx are forced to take risks and stray too close to people. The Alaska Zoo provides a sanctuary for any injured or orphaned lynx found in the city of Anchorage. Senior keeper Beth has hand-raised one of these lynx since he was a kitten.
We have 2 lynx at the zoo. Our older male, Tony, was an orphan that was found within the Anchorage Bowl area by a local biologist who was actually out doing some work.
The biologist noticed the kitten had become separated from its mother.
He heard the kitten crying on the side of the road. He noted the location and he left it because, you know, mom could be coming back anytime. He was in that area doing work for about 3 to 4 days. Every day that kitten was in the same area. On the 3rd day, he actually picked up Tony and took him back to the office.
The frail kitten was brought into the zoo for examination.
Tony came to us very, very small. He was probably less than a pound. He was riddled with internal parasites and very dehydrated. We did not think he was going to survive. He was a pretty pitiful little case. But with lots of good veterinary care, good hands-on care and nourishment, he actually thrived. And he's quite a robust individual right now.
Tony is now a fully grown predator, weighing over 30 pounds, so Beth must be careful entering the pen.
We don't try to turn them again into pets, so they keep their wild behaviors. So we do have to be careful with how we handle them or how we approach them. And we always need to remember that these animals are wild and every animal has a different personality. Their behaviors can change from day to day, from hour to hour. And we just need to be super aware before we actually go in with them.
Having raised Tony since a kitten, he has no fear of humans, so Beth knows she must be extra careful when working alone.
Lynx don't hunt people. We're too big of a target for them, but that doesn't mean that they wouldn't lash out. They have very sharp retractable claws and of course very sharp teeth, and they have the ability to jump extremely high. Those are all things to watch. So if you're working with them, you need to always know where they are because they're going to try to come up behind you maybe or from up above. So you always need to have your eyes on the cat because they can move so quick that you'll never even know that they're behind you or on top of you before it even happens.
While Beth works hard to maintain Tony's wild instincts, she also knows that he's never learned to hunt and so would be unable to survive in Alaska's harsh environment.
Obviously, we would all want these animals to be back out in the wild. The problem is sometimes you can't release them, you know, because again, they require so much care that they couldn't fend for themselves in the wild.
Now endangered in many parts of the world, Beth hopes that Tony and his partner Julie might soon be producing kittens. They might be scarce in some places, but in Anchorage, there appears to be many more lynx on the prowl. Less than a mile from the zoo, there have been increasing reports of lynx tracks being found in the snow on people's property. But how are these wild predators surviving in the city? Some believe it's the rapid increase in people keeping and feeding pets outdoors. In particular, chickens. Often kept outside in enclosed spaces, it's like serving the chickens to a lynx on a plate. But it isn't just lynx. Right across Anchorage, urban wildlife is causing havoc. Just 100 years ago, this city didn't exist, and the animals that lived here have been forced to adapt. Drawn in by the abundance of easy food sources, people and North America's most dangerous animals are coming face to face. In fact, there's so many wild animals on the city streets, Anchorage police now have dedicated wildlife troopers, armed and ready to step in and protect the animals that call Anchorage home. But as this urban jungle continues to expand into the wilderness, encounters between people and animals are on the rise. And when it comes to dealing with dangerous animals on your property, there's only one man to call.
One of the unique properties of Alaska and Anchorage is that it's very much the way it was hundreds of years ago. I mean, obviously there's buildings here now, there's homes that are built in prime wildlife habitat, but the species that were here seem to adapt fairly well to their changes. To be able to live in an area where it's very, very possible to encounter some of these wilderness species, sometimes on the outskirts of the city, and sometimes you'll see them right in the middle of the city. Makes it one of the draws to live here.
But when Anchorage's spectacular wildlife continues to stray too close for comfort, Rob is called into action.
Occasionally there's confrontations, there may be issues where especially the larger species are creating a legitimate hazard.
Today, Rob is investigating the suspicious tracks that the owner believes may come from a lynx.
We'll just conduct an investigation. We'll do a perimeter search of the home. We'll look for perhaps an entry point. We always try to identify an attraction that may be drawing the animals in. And if we can modify that or perhaps eliminate it, then that's really our goal.
Although no attacks have taken place, the tracks are getting closer and closer to the house, and the owner is concerned about her pets.
It's a little bit unusual to have a lynx come in repeatedly around a home, but again, if there's an attraction that it's become habituated to, then like any other species, it'll take advantage of that opportunity and continue coming back.
From his initial search, Rob thinks it's not the pets the lynx may be after. He thinks they're hunting other wild animals attracted here by the birdseed.
Many homeowners here, they like to feed the birds, they like to draw in certain species of wildlife. And as a result, the snowshoe hares and squirrels, other small rodents have come into this area to feed. And the lynx have learned that this can be a constant source of food for them.
Rob is certain that it's the birdseed attracting the lynx's wild prey into the suburbs, but decides to try and gather some concrete evidence.
It's ideal habitat for a lynx to be living here. They like the heavy cover. They like to have places where they can hide and ambush their prey. In spite of the many homes that were built essentially in the lynx backyard, this particular animal has become habituated to those homes.
Rob will check the camera in a few days to see if the lynx has returned, but for now, he suggests removing the bird feeder to keep the rabbits, and therefore the lynx, away from their pets.
Property owners are going to have to make some changes in order to avoid the confrontations with wildlife.
bald eagles are more abundant in Alaska than anywhere else in the United States. When young, their feathers are brown all over. It's only once they reach adulthood that they develop their infamous white head. With binocular vision, a strong hooked beak, and powerful taloned feet, they make fearsome predators. And their speciality is fishing. With fish making up around 90% of their diet, summer here in Alaska is a time of plenty. From May to September, thousands of bald eagles line the coast and rivers, picking off fish as they arrive to spawn. But when winter arrives, these productive fishing grounds turn to frozen wastelands. With food supplies diminished, the lure of the city soon takes hold. Anchorage offers plenty of options for a bird in search of an easy meal. From tasty scraps at the docks to leftovers in fast food joint parking lots, the bins and dumpsters of the city are like an all-you-can-eat buffet. But when birds come into close contact with the human world, it doesn't always end well. Pets, buildings, cars. They all pose a potential threat. Thankfully, one organization is fighting to protect the feathered dwellers of Anchorage from these urban dangers. The Bird TLC is a charity dedicated to rehabilitating sick or injured wild birds. Based in the center of the city, hundreds of cases come through their clinic doors every year. From small falcons to majestic bald eagles. When a bird gets in trouble, Guy Ronco and his team of volunteers are on hand to help out.
Animals far outnumber humans in Alaska, so we are trying to live together, but there are issues from time to time.
Bald eagles are one of the most common birds to find themselves in trouble in the city.
Most of the eagles that we see here at the clinic are injured due to some kind of human cause, either flying into a car or a car hitting them, or a bird that tries to hang out at the dump to get a meal.
But when an injured bird comes in, they don't always know the cause straight away.
I'm gonna check her keel.
It takes detective work to look at the clues and work out what happened. Guy and the clinic vet, Karen Higgs, must assess each bird's condition. This morning's case has been brought in by a member of the public. A female bald eagle, found trapped inside a dumpster. The passerby heard scrabbling noises coming from inside. When they went to investigate, they found the eagle.
Her beak is just starting to turn yellow. She's probably about a 3-year-old.
It's not known how long she'd been there, if she flew in herself for food, or if she was hit by a car and placed inside the dumpster, left for dead. There are worrying signs she struggled for a long time to escape.
She does have a few little scrapes. But this is the biggest concern, is how worn down her talons are.
Bald eagles would usually have talons at least twice this length. Scratching the side of the dumpster could be what has worn them down.
But we'll never know. She'll never tell us.
And whether she flew into the dumpster or was put there also remains a mystery. The next step is to inspect her wings for any further clues.
She has damaged some feathers up here. We're very worn, not close together, which is probably from the dumpster. But she'll be going through molt, so she'll have some new ones pretty soon.
Other than a few scrapes and some very tattered feathers, it seems this eagle has escaped serious injury. Now she'll be taken to the clinic's flight facility for the most important assessment, her ability to fly. If she can't fly properly, she'll be unable to look for food in the wild and would perish in a matter of days. So her release back into her natural habitat will depend on it. While bald eagles are renowned for their excellent fishing skills, life in Alaska's harsh environment has taught them the need to be opportunistic. Once the rivers freeze over, most of their meals must be scavenged or stolen. This bald eagle has spotted a carcass in the snow. Its keen eyesight allows it to spot potential food up to a mile away. Somebody else's leftovers are a welcome meal. These same scavenging skills come in handy for eagles looking for food in the city. But it can also lead them to some very dangerous places. Each autumn, the trash mountains of the city landfill become the bald eagle's new hunting ground. They gather in the surrounding trees, lining the horizon, awaiting the next waste truck to arrive. As the trucks bring in a steady supply of sustenance, the eagles wait for their moment to move in. Anchorage has over 25 airports within the city limits, including floatplane lakes, cargo terminals, and even Air Force bases. It's one of the busiest cities in the States for air traffic. But just over a mile from where these jets take off lies the Eagle's Rubbish Dump restaurant. City officials at the landfill have decided to take a stand. They can't cover the trash quickly enough to keep the bald eagles at bay. Not only are the birds at risk of poisoning from toxic trash, but with a far more dangerous man-made threat nearby, it's time they were moved on. With up to 300 birds gathering at the landfill each day, this is a full-time job. As bald eagles are protected in the United States, a trained government enforcer has been called in. But it isn't easy to deter birds of this size, especially ones so intent on finding a meal. So to try and save the scavenging eagles, he's going to use a clever scare tactic. But this gun doesn't fire bullets. These firecrackers are designed to scare the eagles away and keep them safe from harm. For now, it's keeping things under control. But as long as eagles remain scavengers and humans throw away tasty scraps, America's national bird will continue to feast on Anchorage's trash. And eagles aren't the only species thriving on the city's leftovers. There's a wily species of wild canine that has adapted to life on the city streets. Urban coyotes are known for their mischievous nature. And they often cross the line from friendly neighbor to troublesome pest. During the winter, coyotes struggle to find food, so the lure of city life proves too great for many. Drawn in by the constant supply of food and the infinite opportunities for mischief, coyotes cannot resist the sights and smells of Anchorage. Highly elusive, no one knows how many coyotes live in Anchorage. But their powerful sense of smell and razor-sharp hearing enables them to thrive and find food in this city 24 hours a day. But the coyotes that live outside the city are almost entirely nocturnal, coming out to hunt as the sun begins to set. They were thought to survive by scavenging from the kills of larger predators. But they also hunt small mammals. And once a coyote has picked up the scent, it is incredibly persistent. And it's this survival instinct and tenacity that enables the coyote to thrive in almost any environment. Here in Anchorage, the coyote's senses have allowed them to adapt to the urban jungle. And they've taught themselves some remarkable tricks. It's rumored they have even learned to cross Anchorage's deadly highways. Thousands of Anchorage's wild animals are killed on busy freeways each year. But biologists studying wild coyotes watched a group regularly use traffic lights to cross a 6-lane highway. Emerging from the bushes, the coyotes lay in wait for pedestrians to press the button. They would then wait patiently for traffic to come to a halt. Before safely crossing the road and disappearing into the suburbs in search of food. Anchorage's streets are a dangerous place, however, and many coyotes sadly lose their lives on these highways. The city's wild residents are not restricted to the land. There is a normally elusive mammal that has also set up home in the sea waters around Anchorage, the ghostly beluga. One of the planet's most secretive whales, this is the only urban population in the world. Also known as the white whales, they are highly social, often found in pods of over 100 animals. And so vocal, they're also called sea canaries. Living in some of the coldest waters on Earth, they have a thick layer of blubber to keep them warm, and with no dorsal fin, they can swim easily under the sea ice. They can dive for up to 25 minutes to a depth of over 2,500 feet. But why do they choose the waters around the port of Anchorage and the Cook Inlet as their year-round home? It's all down to the extreme tides. Rising and falling nearly 20 feet, these tidal forces mean the inlet never freezes, even during the harsh winter. This constant movement of water brings an abundance of food. But where there are fish and humans, there are also fishermen out for a prize catch. And here in Anchorage, the people and belugas are both out to catch a very special fish: the hooligan. Incredibly oily and fatty, these fish are perfect for a hungry beluga. Turning up in huge numbers on each incoming tide, fishermen net hundreds at a time. Belugas also arrive here to gorge themselves. But even though the people and wildlife are in direct competition, research shows that the belugas have found a way to avoid the fishermen's nets.
It's our belief that with the turbid waters of Cook Inlet that the beluga whales are always echolocating, and that might help them identify the nets and therefore avoid them. And we've heard fishermen talk about the fact that whales will swim towards a net and then veer off right immediately at the net. And I've also heard that they won't set their net until the whales have passed. So that is a good avoidance mechanism to not entangle whales.
But despite the efforts of Anchorage's fishermen to work harmlessly alongside their beluga neighbors, Barbara's extensive research has seen a startling decline of beluga numbers in the area. The first record of beluga numbers in the Cook Inlet was in 1979, showing 1,300 of these white whales.
But since that time, we've started our surveys in 1994 through the present, and we've noticed a drastic decline between 1994, where the population was 653, to 1998, where the population was about 350.
Up until 1998, the whales were still hunted, but the local communities knew there was a problem, so voluntarily stopped. But despite the lack of hunting, Barbara still hasn't seen a recovery in their numbers.
We're working hard to find out why these whales haven't recovered. And in fact, that's why in 2008 we listed the animals as endangered.
Now listed as an endangered animal, Barbara and her team need to keep a close eye on this unique population. Each year, they must monitor their numbers, observing any changes there may be, and also keeping an eye on the beluga's distribution. But when you are studying a white animal in choppy waters, spotting them can be almost impossible. So the marine team have come up with a solution.
So the way we monitor Cook Inlet belugas for our project is we fly aerial surveys. So we have a small aircraft, seats about 4 people, and we take video cameras, and we have a computer and observers. And what we do is fly the entire inlet, because during this time of year, the whales are almost always found in the upper inlet.
Kim and her team will fly a precise pattern over the entire inlet, meticulously covering a 180-mile stretch of prime beluga habitat. But there is a clue as to where the belugas may be, as Kim has realized they have developed a real penchant for oil-rich fish.
They'll come in skinny, they'll be very thin in the spring, and they just place themselves at these river mouths, hoping to catch hooligan throughout the summer months. And so that's the best time for us to do our surveys, is when those fish runs are just starting and the belugas are coming to these river mouths.
Once a pod of beluga whales has been spotted, Kim and her team spring into action and start to collect their scientific data for analysis.
We fly what we call a racetrack pattern around the whale group, lining up on each side. We have 2 observers collecting independent counts. And we have our other observer move into a position to videotape the whales.
Through these surveys, Kim and her team are hoping to see signs that the population is recovering, not just in numbers, but also reoccupying areas they may not have been seen in for years. This year, the numbers are already slightly up on last year, so hopefully this whale is on the road to recovery. But monitoring the belugas around Anchorage is a huge undertaking, one which Kim and her team are unable to manage year-round on their own. So they've enlisted the help of the residents of Anchorage.
In 2008, we began with the region posting signs to inform people about belugas and to let us know when they had sightings. And part of this is an opportunistic sighting database that we help maintain with the region sending us sightings, as well as other groups that work around the inlet. We get these opportunistic sightings that give us a broader look at where belugas are during the year.
Through the educational outreach of Kim and her team, the residents of Anchorage now know the importance of the survival of these white whales.
And the part of our job is to try and help these populations recover to levels where they can be sustainable and be available to people to see, especially in the Anchorage area where they're so close and people can just go out and see this amazing species swim by.
Wow. Hi, guys.
People don't get those kind of opportunities. Instead of going to an aquarium and seeing an animal in captivity, here we have wild belugas that are swimming right by a major city. And so it's important to protect these species and keep them for the next generations to be able to enjoy, and just the satisfaction of having such a magnificent marine mammal right at your front doorstep.
Kim and her team are yet to fully understand why beluga numbers are still being affected. But they know their constant monitoring is working to help to protect them. But in 2016, a new risk to the belugas was revealed, presenting a new challenge to the marine biologists in Anchorage.
So Anchorage is the largest city here in Alaska. About 80–90% of all products into Alaska comes through the port of Anchorage. So it's a very important part for the city of Anchorage as well as for the state of Alaska. So what's happened though is the port of Anchorage wants to expand to be cost effective, and in doing so that will require in-water work.
Working with loud machinery underwater near an endangered beluga population could have a devastating effect. So they've come up with a simple and immediate solution.
So what we have at the Ship Creek boat launch are marine mammal observers watching the southern boundary of the port activities. So if they're seeing marine mammals, including the endangered beluga whales, these observers are able to tell the folks on site that, hey, whales are coming in, you need to stop, or, whales are coming up, and therefore look for them when you're doing your pile driving. So they're not going to harass these marine mammals and therefore change their behavior because of the noise.
Despite the cost, these measures are being put in place by organizations that understand the importance of preserving this unique urban beluga population for generations to come.
Everybody's got a personal story of the whale that, followed them on a boat or followed them towards the water or, spy hopped up to see what they were doing. And it just makes that connection to the animal more real.
I love studying the belugas, and part of it, I think, is just the feeling that we're doing something to help, to try and recover these endangered populations and just protecting marine mammals in general. It's one of the perks of the job is being able to see these animals and hopefully help contribute to their recovery.
With everyone working to protect the belugas, hopefully the port of Anchorage will continue to be a safe haven for the unique white whale. Just outside the city, the Seaward Peninsula is home to another smaller port that, thanks to the work of the local residents, has become a marine sanctuary like no other.
One of the things that we do around here is make sure that we take care of our beautiful port here. We've been getting the Clean Harbor certification, and you notice that there's a lot of stuff growing on the shoreline. It's basically increased the livelihood of the whole food chain, anywhere from grass growing on the shoreline to creatures returning to the harbor that we haven't seen for years, more seabirds.
And the first animals to turn up in the spring are the sea lions. Known for their intelligence, playfulness, and noisy barking, the males can weigh over 800 pounds. And although they look aggressive, they are in fact one of the most social animals in the sea. To maintain their fat stores, which keep them warm in Alaska's icy seas, they must eat huge amounts of fish. And the sea lions of Seaward have learned that the harbor fishermen provide them with an easy meal.
We have some gut barges around here where we have the people clean all their fish and drop the guts into these barges. Well, it's pre-season, there's no real schools of salmon here yet, and these sea lions basically see an easy target. They come in here and they harass our fish cleaning stations. It's pretty intimidating to see a 2,000-pound sea lion come in there and throw your multi-ton piece of floating equipment around without even thinking anything about it.
And this year, the first of the sea lions have already turned up looking for a handout. Eventually, this guy gets exactly what he was hoping for. But it's not just the sea lions that love it here. The harbor also attracts all kinds of birds, from herons to terns, and even the odd oyster catcher. But there is one mammal that has become a bit of a celebrity. It's the sea otter. Sea otters are truly built for the ocean. They have webbed feet to move through the water with ease, and water-repellent fur that keeps them both warm and dry. In fact, they have the densest fur of any animal. They are so at home in the ocean that the females even give birth on the water. They will nurse their young pups on their chest, and after just 2 months will quickly teach them how to swim and hunt. Out in the ocean, they face predation from killer whales and bald eagles. But for these otters, safety and protection come in this perfect harbor home.
At any time, there could be anywhere from 12 to 20 otters in this harbor. So if you come down here for a nice walk, you could happen upon a sea otter eating and rolling over and just paddling around on its back. And they come in here because it's protected waters, and it's a dry place. They can come up and have a dry place to sleep or stay out of danger. There really isn't much that could come in here to harm them.
But it's not just the protection they love. Due to the harbor cleanup plan, the water is now full of the sea otter's favorite food.
It's a floating buffet of mussels. So they'll hang down and they'll just grab a whole handful and they'll put it on their chest, and they'll be resting on their back with a whole handful of mussels. So they'll eat a majority of the mussel and the shells, and then they'll hold the good ones. They'll roll over, and all the crumbs and all the broken shells will come right off them, and then you come up and there'll be a clean table, and they just continually roll over. And it's really quite interesting, and they just do it all day long.
Although the sea otters appear relaxed, Dan knows you still don't want to get too close.
You want to reach out and touch them, but you know they're going to take your finger off in a second.
But as long as you give the sea otters space, they will just carry on with what they do best, eating. And in this harbor, it's often easy to work out where to find the otters.
You'll see at any time, you'll see where people will be around the harbor in a cluster, and you know they're over there looking at an otter that's swimming around a boat.
But there is one particular otter encounter Dan will never forget.
Oh, well, the octopus otter. When people were standing around, almost had one of these floats under, and I was wondering what was going on. You know, work for the harbor, when you see a bunch of people, somebody's either drowning or there's this otter eating an octopus that's almost the same size as the otter. And they're just rolling around, and the tentacles are flying, and the otter's rolling around and chewing on legs, and it was awesome.
But things don't always turn out well for the otters when they share their home with people.
No, there's not really any predators in this harbor. The only thing an otter could have any problems with is the human interaction here in the harbor. We do have an injured otter who we think got hit by the prop of a boat.
Boats are one of the main causes of injury to marine life. Sadly, just last week, Dan discovered a boat's propeller had made contact with one of this harbor's sea otters, breaking its leg. But help was at hand. Dan cornered off a section of the harbor and set up warning signs, allowing the otter to recover in peace.
When he's not trying to feed, and they do eat a lot, and when he's not feeding, he just climbs up on the back of a boat, which we call a swim platform. They're much closer to the water, so it's easy for him to get out of the water. And he's sleeping on this one swim platform, and he's been quite the celebrity. There's a couple boats around this boat that people stay on the back all day and watch out, just tell people, back off. Because they're part of the community, the otters are. And it's really nice.
Even the fishermen are giving the otter a helping hand, feeding him their scraps. With the help of this animal-loving community, the otter is making an incredible recovery.
We've noticed he is actually getting better, so that's a good thing.
As Anchorage and the surrounding areas continue to develop, some of these changes are not only benefiting the people, but also the wildlife. Harbors, ports, and even golf courses have all become unexpected homes for the animals, providing them with food and protection from the elements.
Hey, that's my beard!
But when they live in an urban environment, animals need the assistance of their human neighbors to survive. And luckily in Anchorage, the wildlife has this in abundance. There is no doubt the residents of this untamed Arctic city want nothing more than to keep it wild.